I really don't know how to start out this video. Wow. Just wow. I was 5 years old when my sister was born, and I didn't really think much of it. A lot of kids would get jealous or something. I mean, I was already 5 years old. I just really didn't have any thoughts and feelings towards it. I was like, oh, cool, a baby. Then she got a little bit older, and that's when I realized this little shit is gonna cause me so much trouble in my life. A couple years later, she did. As we got older, we kind of hated each other's guts. We had a lot of fights. We argued. We bickered. We were total opposites. And then we got a little older, and now we are probably the best of friends. Maybe not as best as you could be, but she's definitely one of my best friends, even though she lives a million miles away. She has stood by me through thick and thin. When everybody else left my life, she was the one constant that stuck with me, and I will stick to her to the end, no matter what. A lot of you guys know the story of me moving to Chris's house. It was so we could be together, so we could live our lives and be in our relationship the way we feel we need to. I'm going to be 30 in September. I'm twice divorced. I'm not going to let anybody tell me how to live my life or how to be in my relationship or to make rules for me. That's not how life works. That's how dictatorship works, and I'm not about to have it from anybody. I don't care who you are, anybody. A lot of stuff went down Thanksgiving night, and to be honest, I'm truly thankful that now I have gotten rid of the people that I need to get rid of, because 2017 is just around the corner, and like every year, I may not accomplish all my goals, but I'm one step further to getting everything on my list accomplished, and I am thankful and grateful that people who don't have my back and aren't on my side are now not in my life. I am going to call my sister and have her share her story, because I feel like I've been talking a lot for her lately in regards to all of this. So I'm going to let her share her side of the story with you guys. It's sad and ironic that all this is being put out there, but I feel like you need to stand up for yourself. So as much gossip or whatever you want to consider this video to be, I hope that you take it as you always need to stand up for yourself against anybody. It could be your family, your boss, your co-workers, people you go to school with. If you don't stand up for yourself, nobody else will. Find people that have your back. Find people that love you and that are 100% on your side. You don't have to agree with everything, but find people who are going to be loyal, who are true companions, because then it's smooth sailing from there.
Well, let's see, probably about 2.5 years ago, maybe even closing in on 3. I converted from Southern Baptist Christian, which I was non-practicing at the time, and converted to pagan, which I could go into that, but I'm not going to right now. When my parents found out, they completely flipped their shit, and they told me, well, at first my mom, she was trying to figure out what it was that I believed in now. She was asking a bunch of questions, and I was answering her as best as I could, seeing as I was still new to the religion. But I was answering the best I could, giving her tons of websites to go to. I even told her there's a book out there called So Your Family Member is Pagan, What Now? And it goes through what pagans believe in, different denominations of paganism, and all this stuff. And I told her, if you want to know exactly what's going on, read this book. It was free online at the time. It was a free download, so she didn't have to pay anything. She just had to read it. She didn't want to. So I was like, all right, fine. Be closed-minded about it. That's all I'm going to talk to you about it if you don't want to learn more. She was like, fine, we just won't talk about it. That lasted for about 3 months. Then she wanted to know more and more and more. Well, I kept telling her more and more, as much as she wanted to know. Then finally, she was like, all right, fine, I get it. You're not Christian, whatever, but I still love you. Me and your daddy are still here for you. I was like, fine, that's cool. Thanks for being supportive,
Which is what we would hope for our parents.
Right.
Which is what they always told us growing up.
Right. And at that point, they didn't like the decision, but they were supportive. They wouldn't really talk about it, but they were supportive. I at that point, I didn't have any problems. If they asked me what I was doing that weekend, I didn't have any problems with telling them, oh, I have a ritual to go to. It wasn't a big deal. Then that quickly switched when probably like a year later, when Dad decided, oh, he's a Christian now. Coming from someone who all of his life, at the beginning of his life, he was pushed into going to church, which so were we.
Yeah.
And then he decided to rebel and go atheist, and everybody thought that was all right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's a Christian again, and then he's telling us that we're pieces of shit because we believe the way we do, even though he basically did the same thing.
And see, this is what aggravates me too, is that when I was Muslim, I remember having a long talk with them, and they were like, well, we don't agree, but we love you, and if that's what you want to do, just don't become a terrorist.
Right.
Which is what your typical white honky American parent would say, if they were supportive. However, you become pagan, which is basically saying, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to worship nature. I want to be involved in nature. I want to worship the whatever that created nature, not a book or a man that yells at me and tells me I'm going to hell.
Right.
So
there are several gods and goddesses of different pantheons and things like that. But basically, yes, I don't put my faith in a specific god or goddess.
So basically, my sister and I, we're just trying to be good humans. We're trying to figure out what we believe, but more so and more importantly, just trying to live a peaceful life and to be happy with the choices we make while striving to get better every day.
Yeah.
And I don't see why putting a label on that is such a horrible thing that makes people want to freak the fuck out.
Right. And then after he became a Christian again, or whatever, because obviously he's not. But after all of that went down, they called me. They were both on speakerphone. They called me, and they said that they weren't going to let me into their house anymore.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That came and completely out of the blue, because right before that, we were fine with talking about everything.
You were also planning to come here for a trip.
Yeah.
From Texas to Kentucky.
At that point, me and Kevin and Matthias were planning on coming to Kentucky for some holiday or something. I don't remember. It's been a while, but yeah, we were planning on coming to Kentucky within a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they said, you're not going to be allowed in my house anymore. It was after Christmas, because they said they had a bunch of presents for Matthias, and they would just meet me somewhere
Right.
give
Yeah.
us the presents for Matthias.
Which is totally weird. That is just so weird. Let's meet at McDonald's so we can give you your Christmas presents. Like, who does that?
Anyway, after like a couple of weeks, Mom calls me back. She's like, me and your daddy have talked about it, and we'll let you stay here, but you can't be practicing your witch stuff in our house. And I was like, what the hell do you think I'm going to do? Get naked in the living room and call in the freaking god of darkness? Like, that's not going to happen.
Although now we kind of wish we could, right?
I mean, I would now. But, like, what the hell did they think I was going to be doing? Like, performing seances and stuff? Like, that doesn't happen. But, like, I was like, yeah, whatever, I'm not staying there. I told them that wasn't going to happen, and then we were going to be staying with my aunt and uncle. After that, we went, we had a good time there. I saw them a couple of times, and then we came home. And then on that Father's Day...
Let's talk about this first off. We have to go into a little detail on this because Tiffany and I had gotten so fed up because every Father's Day I literally cringed because I did not want to wish him a happy Father's Day, and every time I would have to go to the store to buy a card or something, all the cards were like, to the greatest dad in the world, and da-da-da-da, and I'm like, why can't you have a card that says, you know what, I came from your sperm, enjoy your day?
Exactly.
Because that's really like, and we just got so tired of all the fakeness, and we just weren't feeling it. So one year we said, you know what, we're not going to talk to him, we're not going to do it. And actually we didn't even agree on that. We just both didn't do it that year.
Yeah.
And we were just like, you know, we're done being fake. Like, what's the point in faking that you love a person? Like, it takes too much energy. So that year we didn't. That year we both caught shit from it. So then this next year we decided, okay, let's go back to faking it. That's, after all, that's what we women do best, right? So we faked it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I call him. Actually, what happened was, no, I did call him. That's
you
right.
did. Mm-hmm.
I called him. Mom answered the phone. I was like, hey, let me talk to Dad. She was like, all right, cool. So she puts him on the phone, and I say, hey, happy Father's Day. How was your day? Because it was closer to the end of the day. It was around dinner time. And he's like all somber and shit. And he goes, it was fine. Thanks. And then he goes, hey, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want you to call this house anymore. I was like, excuse me? Because at that point, we were fine. Like, all of us were talking and everything. The day before, I had literally just talked to Mom for like an hour. And he's like, yeah, I don't want you to call this house anymore. I don't want to hear anything about you or from you or anything anymore. I was like, all right, you know what? Fine. You're not going to talk to me. You're not going to talk to my son. You know, we are completely out of your lives. Have a nice day. Goodbye. And I clicked. And after that, Mom called me back, and she was like, hey, you know, your daddy didn't really mean that, and all this stuff. I'm like, yes, he did. And if you're going to be on his side like that, then you're not going to talk to me or my son either. Goodbye. But I would hear her voice, and I would turn the phone off, because I'm not going to put up with that shit. If they can't accept me for who I am, if they can't love me for no other reason, because I'm their daughter,
right, then
they have absolutely no time in my headspace, in my life, nothing. Because they're just not worth it.
And for me, hearing all this go down, I don't know where I was at the time. I don't know if I was in Connecticut or still living with Nanny and Papa. I don't remember. But for me, I was kind of in shock that they did that, because like I said, when I converted to Islam, they were still around. They were still whatever, good for you, do your thing.
Right.
And that, I feel like, is a more extreme thing. Like I said, coming from a white honky American family to all of a sudden be Muslim versus pagan. I mean, I'm sorry, but I was the more extreme one here,
Right.
you know? And I can't wrap my head around that, except for the fact that where they are right now, going to where they go now, has totally changed them and made them seriously into like a Southern Baptist evangelical cult.
Yeah.
That is exactly what it is. Maybe not. I don't want to be judgmental. Maybe they are nice people. Maybe it is a good place where they really do believe what they say. Maybe. I don't know. All I'm saying is the way they're acting shows me that it's probably a cult place.
Yeah, no, like, thankfully, Kevin has, first, Kevin, for people that don't know, Kevin is my husband. He at first was kind of going behind my back and talking to Mom and all this stuff about me and, you know, our relationship and things like that. And he was trying to kind of talk to her into talking to me again and all this stuff, which is why she was calling me so much.
Right. And see, I think Kevin and I were on the same page. Like, we felt like you would eventually come around, that she would eventually say, yeah, that was wrong of us, we shouldn't have done that. Because, okay, and this is something I was thinking about earlier, is that the Bible always talks about the kids disobeying the parents, the kids leaving the parents one day in the end times, and how it's going to be bad and stuff. But you don't ever hear anything about the parents being bad. You don't ever hear anything about the parents not accepting their kids when what they're doing, we're not murdering people. We're not, you know, out to destroy people. We're literally just trying to be happy and better ourselves. And that's why they don't love us. And they say they love us, but like I said earlier, that's not love. You cannot abandon your child because your child believes something different than you and still say that you love them. That's not how it works.
Exactly.
I'm no parent, but I would like to think if I was a parent, my kid could come home gay, bi, you know, stealing a candy bar, stealing a cash register, whatever. I'm going to love my kid. I might report them to the police if it's really that bad, but I'm going to love them. And even if I disagree, I'm going to stand by them. Right.
And I mean, even when Matthias was teeny tiny, you know, I would always tell him and, you know, whisper to him and all this stuff, I don't care who you become, I will always love you. I don't care if you're, you know, gay, bi, trans, you know, gender queer, gender fluid, it doesn't matter to me. As long as you're a good person, be you, boo.
Yep, exactly. I don't see, and that's another thing, is that these evangelicals, they're going to have a problem with the trans and the bi and the lesbians and stuff. But what I don't understand is these people are allowing a freaking book to dictate what they prefer in the bedroom, you know, what they eat, how they sleep, where their money goes, who they talk to and they don't talk to. I'm like, quite frankly, you know, wasting your Sunday, not getting enough sleep, spending your money on gas and putting the miles on your car and having to tithe just to go to a place to sing stupid songs and listen to a man yell at you saying you're going to hell, even though you're trying to do everything right. Quite frankly, right there, I got a good night's sleep. I ain't got to waste time, energy, or money, or gas. I'm already happier. Just by that alone. Just by that alone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking to them anymore because he told you on Father's Day never to call him again, that he never wanted to hear from you again.
Right. And, yeah, as far as me calling them, I haven't. Other than when a couple of times when Mom has started spreading shit about me online or trying to, you know, she has posted, she got onto our grandma's Facebook account, hacked into it, and stole a bunch of pictures from my Facebook account because I, of course, have my grandma as a friend on Facebook. So she got on there, stole a bunch of Matthias's newest pictures, and then posted them onto Mom's Facebook account, like, we're friends, and I just gave her the pictures. And I have her blocked on Facebook, so she can't see anything that I post unless she hacks into someone else's account.
Okay, I've still got my sister on speakerphone. Hopefully you guys can hear her. Yeah, it was really weird. It was Thanksgiving Day. You and I were talking, right?
Yes.
And you had said that she called you again.
Right.
So you want to say what happened there?
Well, just as a backstory, she always calls for every birthday, anniversary, holiday, anything. She'll call and say happy birthday, happy whatever. I'll immediately hang up.
So that night, while Chris was cuddling me, we were having, the usual couple pillow talk, and I told him what Tiffany had told me earlier. And he said, oh yeah, I know. He said, your mom commented something, made a post about something and her godless daughters. He's like, I'm just paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it. And I was like, what? So I went to her page to see if I could see anything, and sure enough, I saw it. And it was just, the comments started rolling in from her replies and from friends and stuff, and it was just utterly ridiculous. So I stood up, I made my comments, and then I sent her a very, very long message telling her basically what she's doing is wrong, and I don't see how she could, I didn't say this, but I told you earlier, I don't see how she can ever smile or laugh again, because she's lost her 2 daughters and her grandson.
Right.
And she commented on Facebook that this is mild, that this isn't even the worst. And I'm like, yeah, it is the worst. It's the worst that's ever happened, because she's lost 2 daughters and a grandson. I mean, how can you be okay with that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to point out that I know earlier I said that Kevin was talking to her kind of behind my back at first. I do want to point out that he no longer does that. And actually, he actually told me today that the only time he ever wants to hear from her is if there's something medical that is a genetic thing that can be passed down. That's the only time that he wants to hear from her.
So I thought it was funny. Tiffany had made the comment that my mom had minions. Let me just see here.
Yep, her sending her little evil minions after you.
Oh, it wasn't until maybe a couple years ago, a year or two ago, that you and I both realized we were suffering from the same thing, from the same moment, from the same person.
Right.
And we had no clue. And I don't even remember how it came up. I think we were having a discussion about everything, and then you said something, and I was like, oh yeah, me too. And I was blown away, because I thought at that point you were too young and that it would just fly off your shoulders, but apparently it didn't, either one of us.
Right. I don't even quite remember what brought on the initial conversation that he had.
I don't either.
Or the initial, verbal flogging, I suppose. But I think we were, talking about our future plans. Like, when I was little, I didn't want to get married until I was 27. I wanted to live in New York in a cool apartment with an awesome boyfriend and, just be cool. And Courtney can tell you,
yes.
Until I met Kevin, I did not want to get married until I was 27.
Yep. You also wanted to be a chef your entire life.
Absolutely. And I still regret not going to Sullivan University, by the way. But anyway, I digress. And you were talking about how, you wanted to grow up and be a mom and, have an awesome husband and, just live your life being a mom. And that's all either of us ever wanted.
And what we wanted, we never got.
Right. You know, I ended up getting married at 18, having a baby very soon after.
And I ended up growing up to be infertile. Yay.
I moved to Texas instead of New York. So, you know.
I was around 14 or 15 when this happened.
Right. And I was around 8 or 9. And so you tell him exactly what he said.
He was yelling at us for something because we were talking and doing something, and we were often yelled at for a lot of reasons that we shouldn't have been. And he tells us the neighborhood that we grew up in was known as the Village. He told me and Tiffany, 2 young girls right there, our own biological father, said, "You are 2 white chubby girls from the Village and you will never be anything special. You're not special, so stop thinking that you are."
Exactly.
And we weren't thinking we were special. We were just sitting there talking about what we wanted to do.
Right. And, you know, most people who live in the Village or in the surrounding area do not get out.
Yeah.
They live their entire lives there.
And that's another thing. I feel like they were jealous of the both of us because we were able to get out. Yeah.
We didn't want to stay there at all, even at very young ages.
Mhm.
And even now, I tell Kevin, and he's completely on board now. Since we got married, I've told him I will never move back to Kentucky.
That's another reason why I hate you, is that you're not living in Kentucky and I'm having to live here. But hopefully, I was talking to Chris the other night, and I was like, hopefully I'll become a flight attendant and then I'll move to Chicago. How freaking amazing, Tiffany, would it be if I become a flight attendant and I'm like stationed or whatever they call it in Chicago and you guys are living up there?
That would be amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I plan on being in Chicago quite a bit.
Heck yeah, I wouldn't blame you. So that moment was very traumatic for the both of us, and we had no clue until just recently. So we've had a few conversations on this, you know, just to kind of help each other out and stuff. And just recently have I realized that, you know, scum is not a good thing. And when you let scum into your life, it's not good and you want to clean it.
Right.
I am now getting myself clean and I don't want any more scum. You can't let people who you know are failures lead you to fail too, or lead you to believe you're something that you're not. You have to hang on to what you believe about yourself, because what you believe about yourself, even if people don't see that about you, that's what you are on the inside. So if people aren't seeing that in you, then you need to work on it to bring that out of you.
I do want to say that since I have openly said that I am pagan and I've gone, you know, to Fort Hood Open Circle and all of this stuff, yes, you can keep the name in, it's perfectly fine. Since I've gone there, I have become such a different person with, you know, how I'm thinking about myself and all of this stuff, you know, pertaining to how I was raised and all of this shit that was just constantly beat into me. It's finally starting to dissipate.
Me, I was living there, and it was one of the last arguments that we had, just about me being an adult, me going to Chris's house, which should not even be an argument. I mean,
You're a grown-ass woman.
Let's address this again. I'm going to be 30 next year. I'm divorced. I'm not a virgin. And I finally found a good man who loves me. Like, you can see it from the pictures and the videos and everything. Like, we don't change how we are on camera. That is Chris and I all the time. Like, right. Okay, not all the time, but, you know. Except,
right,
yeah. So, that's just who we are. And that's what I've always wanted. And if you can't be happy that I finally found someone, I mean, you've seen me go through these men who use me, who hurt me, and you've been okay with them. Like, you might not have wanted me to be with them, but you've been okay that I've been with them. And now that I'm with somebody who does love me, you're gonna hate him because of the flaws he has. You're not able to look past that and be like, wow, thank you for really loving my daughter. Of course, then again, why would he? Because he never truly loved me either.
Right.
He was one of the loser men that, you know, he wanted to hurt me and you verbally so that he would feel like a big boy himself. So,
and physically, because anytime he could assert his dominance,
he would.
was always hitting us or punching us or knocking us to the ground.
Yep.
Whenever he could, just because he could. If I forgot to get him a cup of coffee, he would knock me over or punch me in the arm and leave bruises.
Or if you were playing with your friends and he told you to stop and go grab a pack of cigarettes, shit would hit the fan.
Yeah. Or if I remember living at the trailer park in Fairdale, and if that's when I was really having trouble focusing on stuff. So if he told me to run in the house and get 3 things and I forgot one of them, he would literally, like, knock me over or punch me or kick me over. Like, at that point, I was between 4 and 7 years old. Mm-hmm. Who does that?
Yep. Well, and then, should we talk about the time that you lied and you got me physically attacked?
Yeah. I don't even remember what happened.
We were playing across the street. We were playing across the street, me and the little girl. We were playing a 2-person game, and you got upset that you couldn't play. And we had told you, whoever wins or loses or whatever, you could play with them the next game. This was back when you were, like, lying about every single thing. Like, no matter what it was, you were lying about everything. Yeah. Admit it now, please. I want you to repeat after me, okay?
Okay.
I, Tiffany Adams, when I was little, lied about everything, and my sister took a lot of shit for it.
Because I was a lying little fucktard.
There you go. She admitted it on camera. It's not just me saying it. So she started crying because she couldn't play the game, ran across the street, told our dad that I punched her. Of course, there was obviously no visible marks on her because I did not punch her. I was playing a fucking game. And he comes over, storms through this person's house, like didn't even knock, like what the fuck, drags me out by my arm. And he's like, we gotta go home. I was like, what happened? I thought there was an emergency. I thought something happened to somebody or something crazy was going on. We're walking across the street and I'm like, what's going on? Like, really concerned at this point. And he was like, you think it's okay to punch your little sister? You're 3 times bigger than her. How would you like it if I punched you? He drew back his fist and as hard as he could, punched me in the arm. I started screaming, crying. My arm was sore and red and bruised for 7 days straight. I remember because I was like shocked. And then that night, like, we were sitting in the room and I was crying and I was like trying to find something cold to put on my arm, and I was like, Tiffany, you're going to hell because you keep lying, and Dad hurt me because you told a lie, and you were gonna play the game, you just had to wait. You're such a horrible sister and I don't love you anymore. Do you remember that part of this?
I
do. And then she went in and she told him that she lied and everything, and guess what happened? Your little ass did not get in trouble. I think you might have gotten grounded from a toy or some shit. And he called me in. He's like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was like, the fuck you did. And I straight up looked at him. Here I was. I was like 10 or 11 years old because we only lived there for like a couple of years. So I was 10 or 11. And I just looked at him. I said, I will never forgive you. And I went back to the room.
Yeah. And this sort of behavior went on until very, very recently. I don't know when the last time was for you, but for me, the last time he physically hurt me was right before me and Kevin got married when I was 18, because I remember me and Mom were playing a board game in the living room, and I was sitting on the couch. She was sitting on the floor. Well, he had the entire rest of the couch to sit on. But he was outside smoking and talking to one of the neighbors. And hold on, buddy. He came in, told me to move, and I was like, no, me and Mom are playing a game here, and you can sit on the rest of the couch. And, he was like, excuse me? I was like, no, excuse me. I've been sitting here for 20 minutes. You can sit somewhere else. And he draws back his fist, just like with you. And he was like, say that again. And I was like, why are you being an asshole? And he punches me in the arm as hard as he possibly can. I fall to the floor because of the sheer force of it. And he was like, go to your room. I was like, I'm 18. You can't tell me to go to my room. I'm a grown adult now. And I know that kind of sounds like a teenager thing to say, but it's true.
You have
I was
to say
engaged.
it
I was about to be married. I was about to be moving out of their house anyway.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I went to my room, and I didn't close the door or anything because I was like, as soon as he, goes out of the living room, I'm bolting. And I heard Mom, the one time I have ever heard her tell him something that he did wrong to stand up for one of her children. She said, you were kind of being an asshole. He didn't say anything to her. He just kind of huffed and walked away. He didn't even sit where I was sitting.
Oh my God, are
he
you
walked
serious?
Away.
Wow.
And he just fucking walked away. He went to go make a cup of coffee and then went back outside to smoke, of course, another cigarette. Or 7. I don't fucking care. But hold on. But at that point, I was in my room. I had my cell phone because Kevin had given me a cell phone. And I called him, and I was like, hey, this is what just happened. Is there any way you can get here?
Well, my battery is dying. I had it fully charged, but I guess we took up a lot of your time. I'm sorry, but we needed to vent. We needed to get our truth out because apparently other people are telling their side of the story, and there's always two sides to the story, and apparently it's gone pretty public. When I was living at the house, to make this just really quick, I brought up that scenario that had destroyed me and Tiffany emotionally. He did not take any responsibility for that. In fact, his words to me were, "You can't blame me for that." At that point, I became very angry, and it wasn't until just recently I realized that when people are wrong like that, they're never going to take that responsibility. And it's up to me to make it right for myself. So I release that scumbag. I release his words to me and to you. I release it, and I'm allowing only light to come in. Because that's the only thing I have room for. And I'm not going to allow anything bad from anybody to ruin my own self, my own body, my own mind, my own spirituality, my peace of mind. Nothing bad is going to come into me without my permission ever again.
I said absolutely. Blessed be everybody, and love yourselves first.
Love yourselves first, yes. But also, love the people who are supposed to be your family, because chances are you probably got some good ones. We unfortunately don't. And that's why I love the fact that you are able to choose your family, because the people I've chosen to be in my life are some of the most awesome people who I know will have my back no matter what. And that's what family is.